Quick summary. 19-year-old male, 145 pounds, regular cannabis smoker, previous experience with alcohol, coke, hydrocodone, Ritalin, Xanax, Blue Lotus, kratom, morning glories, psilocybin mushrooms, opium, hash, salvia divinorum. 9:30 p.m. Smoke approximately a quarter gram of medical-grade weed and equivalent of 5 grams of Lotus between 2 people. 10:30, drink equivalent 1.5 grams of Lotus. 12:30 to 3 o'clock, multiple glasses, around 4, of wine, mostly red, ingested. 3:15, 1 Camel light cigarette smoked. 3:30, large blunt of unknown quality weed shared between a group of people. 3:30, drank 1 bottle of Miller High Life beer. 11 o'clock a.m., GNC Megamen Sport Vitamin supplemented ingested. I had been smoking weed every day for the past month. Upon returning home from college for winter break, I discovered that the town was dry. No weed was to be found. Still, my generous tendencies enabled me to get smoked up out of the head stashes and reserves of a few friends in town. Nonetheless, it had been a day since I smoked. I was not suffering any anxiety or withdrawal, likely from all the positivity of home-cooked food and sprawling to sleep on my bed at home and the shadow of work, classes, papers and projects no longer hanging over me. Luckily, I had some legal herbs to keep the mood up and the boredom down. On Christmas Day my friend B swung by with a Dutch and the last of his weed, 0.5 grams of a medical strain, Trainwreck Big Bud, that I had hooked him up with a few weeks ago. Earlier in the week I had been experimenting Blue Lotus in the form of a powdered 25x extract. I had been ingesting it orally and the effects were minute. The stuff also tasted pretty bad. I decided to take what was left and sprinkle it over the weed in the blunt. I added a little less than half a gram of the 25x, something around 10 grams of actual Blue Lotus perhaps. I finished rolling it, licked the outer paper down, dried it down slightly and sparked it up. I must say it was a well-rolled blunt and it seems the Blue Lotus made it burn much slower than usual and much slower than I had expected given that the weed was pretty dry. Usually this particular weed gives a very strong head and body stone that can be a little overwhelming. It certainly isn't the most clear-headed high. The Lotus made the high much more clear-headed. We were stoned and slow, but we could maintain a coherent thought flow and conversation. It was very relaxing and I found the combination to be great. The trade-off however was the high was less frenetically creative. Usually I get a great deal of associative thought and my mind races and goes off on tangents of thought, especially with quality pot like this. However, this aspect of the high was not there as my thoughts were slowed to a more baseline level. Things just felt slower in a way. I guess that is what the Lotus, as a sedative, is supposed to do. The weed was the dominant aspect of the combination but the Lotus modified the high in a very tangible and positive way. Taking a day off and adding the Lotus just made being high so much better than it usually is. I felt very happy, talkative and social. B later remarked he felt lucid and philosophical in this combination. This was really the last of the weed amongst my collective group of friends but it was a very satisfying end. We proceeded to the movie theater to meet up with some friends and see The Chronicles of Narnia. It was an awful movie and thankfully I was fucked up for it. B and I mixed what was left of the Lotus, a small amount of 25x, the equivalent of maybe 3 grams of Lotus, with some lemonade and drank that through the movie. It was hard to get over how cliched and poorly done the movie was and as soon as it was over we knew we had to drink away its awfulness. By this point I was down from the weed and I'm sure the smoked Lotus effects were gone and the oral effects were too small to notice. Unfortunately, it was around 12:30 at this point and the liquor stores were not open. So a couple of us raided our parents' stash and we ended up with 4 bottles of wine, 3 red and 1 white. Between the 5 of us who were drinking that would be fine. We made a cigarette run and commenced the drinking with a few glasses and some games of wine pong. The wine drunk came on quick and warm and the positivity levels continued to climb. We tried to set up the Xbox but it was not working so I went out to smoke. Ordinarily I don't smoke cigs unless I'm extremely drunk, but since the weed was lacking I sparked one up. So a couple of us were outside smoking cigs and making meaningless small talk as only drunk people can do when an SUV rolls down the street, stops right next to us and rolls down the window. "What up? Can I get a cig?" In the car was S and a friend of his. I had never known S, but he was a legend from our high school days. He was 2 grades above us and was known for his tennis skills and large supply of marijuana. I believe he used to be a dealer, but that was before I started smoking. "You guys smoking any weed?" he asked. We explained our situation to him, how we couldn't find weed anywhere, how even our good friend D, A dealer with a large network of contacts in and around the town couldn't score anything. S replied, "There is always weed in this town. How much you looking for?" In my drunken state, the mention of weed set me off. I hopped in their car and told them we wanted at least an 1/8. "I have a better idea, how about you give us 15 minutes and meet us back out here with a few beers? We'll bring a blunt, fuck yeah." So we parted ways. My friend went back into his house and grabbed a few bottles of Miller High Life. So we waited outside, puffing on our cancer sticks and thinking that this was too good to be true. Would they return? Would we rise up to the heavens once more? Would the prophecy unfold as it was once spoken many seconds ago? I don't know how long passed, it could not have been too long, but soon we saw two figures walking up the street. Then the planets aligned themselves, the clouds parted and we were gifted with the herb of the gods. We stood in a circle on the driveway passing a large blunt around. I nursed a beer between puffs and marveled at our good fortune. Soon the blunt was approaching the end and we parted ways with the prophets. Merry Christmas. It was 3 or 4 a.m., the day after Christmas. I was drunk and high, breathing in the cold clean suburban air with my best friends from home, the people I grew up with and shared some of the highest highs and lowest lows of my life with. It was the best belated Christmas present I could ask for. Epilogue. I would have liked to end the story right before this epilogue, but there is more to say, though arguably it is now much less poetic. B, who always takes one for the team by being the DD, drove me home and we tossed some bottles out the window, just like old times. Once at home I realized my night vision was shot. I struggled through the garage and into the house, trying my inebriated best not to make too much noise and wake my family. I downed a glass of water and jumped into bed. I felt a great deal of body energy that I was consciously shifting around to different chakras/nadis but without any phenomenon. The next morning I woke up around 11 with an annoying hangover. Generally, even after nights of moderately heavy drinking I don't wake up with a hangover. I suspect it was the wine as, though a good drunk, it is certainly not the cleanest. I also felt that dirty feeling accompanying smoking a cigarette though I only had one. The Lotus may have further dehydrated me. I had a glass of water and a GNC Mega Men Sport vitamin supplement, contained some stimulants like ginkgo, L-taurine and green tea extract, and tried to go back to sleep. I got up around 1 and I drank more water and had some food. As I write this it is about 5 p.m. I feel much better, though still dirty and tired. I suspect a good meal, a shower, a mug of green tea and a joint would make me feel 100%. What I learned. Lotus is best ingested via smoking. It slows down the racing thoughts of a weed high and I'll bet it would be a good way to lessen anxiety from other drugs and possibly psychological withdrawal. The effects are not strong enough with oral ingestion. It combines well with weed to make for a more social, talkative and less anxious high. Also I avoid the possible dehydrating effects by smoking it. I found it would make a good part of a burning blend or smoke as it really slowed down the burn rate of our blunt. The wine drunk is a trade-off. Enjoy it now, pay for it the morning after. Even with the small amount I had, probably around 4 glasses, I still woke up with a hangover. Never forget to stay hydrated, especially when combining various drugs. Cigarettes are gross, but they still make people look cool. The universe sometimes aligns itself in amazing ways. Our hunger for weed and our chance meeting with some local stoners who shared a blunt with us at 3 a.m. could be written off as coincidence. I, however, suspect it was a synchronicity of some sort, a part of the magic of the holidays and the Christmas spirit. If you give then you will receive because karma always hits you back. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this Christmas story.